It was something that was really on my heart that I wanted to share when I shared my post initially.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Air Hug community. If you're new here, this is a podcast that celebrates midlife, but we also talk about all the nasty part of it, the realistic part of it, and what we can do to make the second half of our life the best part of our life. Our guest today is Lisa King, and she is going to share with us about the healthy habit that was not so healthy for her, how she gave it up, and how she knew it was not so good for her. Today, we have a guest who's been on before. Our guest today is pharmacist Lisa King, who is a health advocate as well as a warrior to help women realize that living with bladder pain is not something that they have to live with, and it can be resolved. But today we're talking about a different issue. Today, I wanted to bring Lisa on because we got into this conversation about approaches that do not work as far as trying to improve our fitness levels and our health levels. And I think so often we decide that we're going to blindly follow whatever it is that's out there that's being advocated for and marketed. And and I love when something works for someone, and it's great that they want other people to know about it, but everything doesn't work for every one of us. And Lisa had one of these experiences. So Lisa, thank you for agreeing to come on today and talk about this.
Yes, it was something that was really on my heart that I wanted to share when I shared my post initially, because I was such a strong advocate of long fasting periods. I had heard so much about it. And I tried it for myself, but the last few times I tried it, it did not work out to my benefit at all. And so I'm the type of person who, when I put my mind to something, I think, okay, I'm going to go through with it, no matter if it's working or not. It's just one of those things. If I put my mind to something, I'm doing it. And so I really just felt that I wanted to share the message that you have to really listen to your body. So if you start something and it's not working, you don't have to stick with it. It's okay to let it go. So that's really what brings me here today, and in sharing this message with you. We're talking about it, and I really do think it's such an important message for women to hear.
I totally agree. So I'd love to start off by, if you wouldn't mind, take us through the scenario. We know that you're like a dedicated, disciplined, determined woman, obviously. And so you're going down this path. Like, how long did it take you to realize that maybe it wasn't the path for you? And what did your body tell you?
Well, basically what it was, I had read a book about a 5-day fasting mimicking diet. So basically it's fasting with food. So it's very low calories, but you're still eating over the 5 days. And the health benefits are just really fantastic. So there's a lot of autophagy, which is cellular turnover. And that was really one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, was because not for weight loss or anything like that, but my mom and my sister are both breast cancer survivors. And I really felt that if I could get this refresh of the cellular turnover, that would be fantastic for me. And so in the studies that they did on it, they did one 5-day fast every 30 days for the first 3 times that you do it. And then after that, it would be, every 6 months to every year. So the first time went well. I definitely was ready for the fast to be over at the end of the 5 days, but was okay with it. Next 30 days goes by. I have the fast, and just by the 5th day, I felt so weak. My heart was just palpitating like crazy, which I'm now realizing, I think that my body is just very sensitive to things like this. And I'll talk a little bit about how I know about this in just a moment. So I think I was just really releasing just so much cortisol and just the heart palpitations. And one of the reasons I decided to do this was one of my friends, who's a pharmacist, works for the company. So she was kind of coaching me along on this. She had done it numerous times. She had done it about 15 or 16 times. And so she had a very great result with it.
Stop for a second. What do you mean works for the company? Was there a product associated with it?
I didn't know if I should name the product or not.
You could just say there was a product. It does. I don't want to speak ill of anything. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a product that gives you the food to eat for the 5 days. It's mostly soups, these really fiber rich soups that are very, very thick to keep you full, and then a few bars. So it's mostly you're having these 3 soups a day and some bars. So very, very, very low calorie, but still eating. So she was said to me, okay, so this happened to you on the 5th day. So maybe next time you try it, stop at the 4th day, just stop around the 4th day and, you'll be fine. And so when I tried it the next time, the 4th day was when it hit again. Oh my gosh, Judy, I felt like I was having a heart attack. My heart rate was so high. I was just, my blood pressure was high. I just felt awful. And one of the things that really just stuck in my mind is I'm a grandmother, and I thought, I have these 2 beautiful little granddaughters at home, and here I'm going to probably harm myself physically trying to get healthier, and I'm not even getting healthier. I'm making myself worse. I could, God forbid, maybe have a heart attack. It was just, I really think
That's
the
really
high
scary.
It really was. And it took me about 24 hours to actually feel better. At the time, we were living in a different home. And so my bedroom was on the 2nd story. And I actually had to wake up my husband in the middle of the night and say, I am so weak. I'm feeling so horrible. I can't even get down the steps to eat something. I need you to go downstairs and get something for me to eat. And I just wanted a few bars. I wanted something light. I hadn't been really eating for 5 days, but it was that severe that I didn't even trust myself to go get down the steps by myself, because I just had felt so weak. So with that, I just am really cautious about fasting now. I do fast for 12 hours a day, but I also do use this device called Lumen. It measures your metabolism. And I've seen that if I try to even fast for 14 hours is usually where I'll wind up. But if I even try to go to the 16 hours, my measurements will start going up. I'll go out of that fat burning mode into carb burning mode, which means that I'm releasing cortisol. So I just feel like my body is just really sensitive to that. Even I know, even like, and we'll talk about a little bit about one of the other things I don't do anymore, which is like work out really hard if I'm not feeling well or feeling super tired. Again, my body is just super sensitive, really releases cortisol. And then I just start feeling, shaky, the heart palpitations. And it's just something that I've learned along the way. But initially, just because I loved the health benefits. I mean, I've read so much about the health benefits of this fast and autophagy and other people who've done it. And because they told me to do it 3 months in a row, even though I had the bad result the second time, I wouldn't say a bad result. It just was a result that didn't work for me. I would definitely should have probably stopped at that point. I didn't. And so I went on for the next time. And I do apologize, Judy. I turned off my notifications, but somehow they're coming through. So if you hear a little beep, I apologize.
No worries. We got all sorts of interruptions going on around here. It's part of life. So, wow, that's a lot to take in. And it's amazing. I can see where you were having some inner turmoil, where you're like, no, I'm not giving up. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do it. So you did it. But then in retrospect, especially with the dramatic on the last one, knowing that you really needed food right now and couldn't even get to your food, that's just, it just amazes me. I had often read, and you can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, when I was doing some research on intermittent fasting, and I did an episode on it a while back. That is episode 62. What I had found some research that said for women, it can be a lot trickier to do than for men. And what I understood was that hormones had something to do with it. But speaking of hormones, when you talked about the cortisol release, that really sparked my interest. And can you talk more to that, how you knew, and was it something that you were trained to feel that you knew, or was it you mentioned something else that you used along the way there?
Well, yeah, no, I really just started learning this just recently because I was gifted with this device. I can actually show it to you if you don't mind. It's called Lumen. So you breathe into it every morning, and it gives you your carbon dioxide levels, and it tells you if you are in fat burning mode or in carb burning mode. So it helps you to boost your metabolism, not only for weight loss, but just for overall health, just, to prevent diseases of metabolism like diabetes, heart disease, that type of thing. So it really just is such an essential key to get to know your body. And just, they have a fantastic community, and I've talked to like some of their advisors there if I have questions. And so many women, especially women of our age, just due to the hormone imbalance, really can't do that 16-hour fast. So, around 12 hours is where I'll wind up, sometimes 14 hours. But a lot of women will find that as each hour goes on, and you can test, they always recommend sometimes if you're going to do a longer fast to test your level every hour, and then find out where that point is where your body shifts from that fat burning mode to carb burning mode. And that's when the cortisol is released and your body's somewhat saying, I'm done. This isn't good for me, this longer fast. And so I really am respecting that now for myself, even though you read so much about the traditional 16-8 fast where you're fasting for 16 hours and then you're eating for 8. There's still just so many health benefits to just not eating overnight. That 12-hour fast. So, and that's kind of what I stick to. So I just eat, we have dinner fairly early, about 5:36. And then especially on the days that I'm working, I'll eat again at 6. Other days I just doing a few things around my office, probably won't eat till 7 or maybe even just a little bit later. So wind up about 13, 14 hours. But
oh, you mean the next morning?
The next morning.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that works for me. And really just, I think the biggest thing, and I actually just did a post on this too, and I had read this, that a lot of times people are a little bit confused about fasting. And I did a presentation for a group of women recently. And one of the ladies said, well, I don't eat lunch. So, I feel like I fast all day. She said, I have breakfast and then I don't eat all day and I eat at dinner time. Well, it takes your body about 3 to 4 hours to get into that fasted state where you do have that cellular rejuvenation, that turnover, that healing of your body. So really, if you stop eating 3 or 4 hours before dinner and then you sleep, that's when the benefits of the fast really come in, because your body just really heals itself so much while you're sleeping. So
if you can the point of sleeping, right?
Exactly. So it's not really, and it's funny because I actually, even after I had posted this, somebody else had in the comments said, I thought I was fasting because I skip lunch every day, but that's not really considered fasting. Your body's not in a fasted state. So, for the health benefits of fasting. So yes, so that kind of brings me to where I am with my fasting right now. I do think there's so many health benefits to not eating after dinner, but definitely will not be trying the really long fasts, although I know they do work for some people.
Yeah, again, it's amazing how individual our bodies are. And it's funny because I naturally will do a 14-hour fast. Like I will stop eating about 7:30 p.m. and will not really have my first meal. I do like my clients and a workout myself, and will have my first meal between 9:30 and 10, roughly. And that's right. It's pretty consistent, about 6 days a week. If we have a later dinner on a weekend, then it's a little different. And it's funny how my body feels different if we have a later dinner. But anyways, so I want to ask you another question about is it called Lumen?
Lumen, yeah.
Yeah. So when you talked about beginning, so if someone normally, let's say they're normal without thinking about it, like overnight fast is 10 hours. If they were to use that, would you say maybe they were trying to get to 12? Would you say test at 10, test at 11, test at 12?
Yes, that's what they recommend. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I heard you right. Yeah.
Yeah. To see where your ideal fasting window is. Because if, at the 11th hour, your body starts turning back to, not having, goes into that carb burning mode as opposed to being in fat burning, then, that's when that cortisol is being released. And that's probably about your max. So you should stick with that 11 hours instead of 10.
Instead of dipping over. Yeah.
Yeah. And not go over to the 12-hour.
Wow. That is so cool. So really, you're kind of a combination of listening to your body, and you also have this device that is or at least has been helping you. Do you use it routinely, or do
Yeah,
you feel
I
like you're
do. Okay.
okay?
Yes, I do it every day because there we go again. It's, they told me to do it every day, so I do. But I really have just learned so much about my body. And that's another thing that one of the things that I don't do any longer is just keep pushing myself. So just as a type A person, pharmacist, I just have always had the tendency to really just push myself. And, if I say I'm going to get a workout and I don't work out in the morning because I'm at work or something like that, and then I'm exhausted at the end of the day, I have found that doing that workout at night, actually puts me back into carb burning. And the days that I actually rest and don't work out, I'll stay in the fat burn mode. So it's again, it's that cortisol level. It's listening to your body. So sometimes when your body is telling you to rest, you just need to rest. You don't need
Yeah.
to push through that workout. And I don't mean it in a way to have an excuse saying, oh, I'm too tired, because, we all can be tired, that type of thing. But sometimes your body is really saying, no, I really need to rest right now. And I can kind of tell the difference where I'm like, oh, it's after dinner. I don't feel like taking the walk. But then once I'm on the walk, I'm fine. Or when I'm really exhausted and just trying to push through it, it's just probably not the right idea.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think for me, the older I get, the wiser I get, which sounds
Yes.
like so cliche, but it's not, because again, I was push, 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 right? I went through these years of training to be a professional bodybuilder. I didn't miss a workout unless I had a fever, or something super, true illness symptoms. I didn't miss a workout. And there were days where I was dragging. I remember I went to get, back when I wore eyelash extensions, I went to get my eyelashes done. And the lady said to me, I have never seen anyone sleep so soundly. When are you going to be done with this bodybuilding business? And I just laughed
Right.
at her. But
Yeah.
now I will know, like, I'll look at my week, and it's very interesting. My standards are much more by how I feel. In fact, this past weekend, I got to Saturday, had a beautiful week of workouts. Mentally, I was like, this would be a great day just to work on joint work and mobility training. I'm like, it wasn't going to be hard, but it was going to take like 45 minutes. And I kept saying to myself, just don't feel like doing it. I go, it was just like it was even morning, and I'm like, I really just want to take a nap. And I thought, well,
Yes.
there's your clue. You're not going to do that. And so even the walk that I took with the dogs was shorter that day. And I think the next day was so much better. And again, the next day was like, not going to work out again. Again, just took the dogs for a walk. And then the next day was like awesome. Like, oh, that was the right thing to do. And
Yes,
it's
I know. And
amazing.
and I kind of had the same type of weekend. I just was really, really tired on Sunday. And I rarely ever get sick, but everybody in the pharmacy was sick, and
Oh,
I'm taking all my supplements to prevent it. And I just was super tired. I never really came down with anything, but just had that feeling like I was fighting something off. And again, I was just thinking, I need to listen to my body. I need to rest. For so many years, I apologized for sleep. I think, you know, with my husband's family, my family, I think that was just the way we were raised. Like napping, it's for the weak, sleep, keep going. And now I don't say, I don't apologize. I'm like, I love sleep. I love to nap. And if I need it, I'm going to do it.
absolutely. Yay. Can I just applaud that? Because I think sleep or not having sleep is almost like people feel like it's a badge of honor. It's almost like
Yes.
martyrdom, like I'll sleep when I'm dead. And me, I'm like, excuse me, I need a nap. I'll catch up with you
Right.
later. You know,
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
it's amazing. So, is there anything else, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, that you don't do anymore that you feel like your body is benefiting from, that you may have forced your way through, giving your type A personality?
Well, I think the other thing is calorie restriction. I've really given that up recently, very recently, in just the last year or two, just for more healthy, nourishing food. So the concept of food as medicine has always been really big with me, but not food as fuel, which I mean just sounds so crazy, that I wouldn't be thinking of food as fuel. But for many, many years, I just really restricted my calories. And especially working in a pharmacy, I work in a different setting now, and I only work 1 or 2 days a week. But working 12-hour days in retail pharmacy, I would just have, packaged diet food. They're, 120 calories each, just really restricted eating. And now I look at like how many calories I would allow myself at breakfast, and now it's like triple the amount of calories, but it's enough that I can power through my morning, do what I need to do during the day, have that morning workout, and not be just dragging. So that's just another thing that has really been big for me. And that's just, I think, goes back to listening to my body and just being kinder to myself as I get older. So I think there was just a lot of voices in my head saying, okay, this is how many calories you have to eat. This is how many hours you have to work out. And now it's like I'm listening to myself, and that's, working out much better for me.
Yeah.
And that's
Can I
kind of
just
why I want
applaud
to
you?
thank you. And that's kind of why I want to share this message here, because I know there's just so many women, for whatever reason, it may be like yourself, when you were working out, or just for me, just being so strict with myself. I mean, we just have to give ourselves grace, and experience joy. We also have to experience life and joy, while we're living this healthy living journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've talked about this a lot, actually. In fact, I like to do like a reflective episode at the end of the year, which also is when my birthday is. And so that I did that episode, and it was habits that I gave up in 2022. And one of them was restricting calories in a certain way. Like I was weighing and measuring everything, every bite, every drop of oil. And I have not measured. Well, I haven't measured in a couple of months because we don't have a kitchen. But also I made a goal not to measure. And the only thing I did measure, and I tell people this because this is just like how I do it. If I'm making pasta for dinner for my husband and I, the dry pasta, I measure out 2 ounces for each of us. And then I know we each have half of what it is and whatever else we're having it with. And it's just easy. Now, if like maybe he wants leftovers for lunch or whatever, then I'll do that. And it's so funny, after it's cooked, I'm like, wait, I'll divide it into however many servings I made. To me, that's just like normal meal prep. That's not a big deal, but not, worrying about every last bite, like you said. And can I tell you, my weight, I don't weigh myself. My clothes are actually more comfortable than they were before. And it's the time between my ears. It's what I call the mental aerobics associated with trying to be fit and healthy. It's like freed up my brain. I have time. Like I'm reading fiction now for fun because I can.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And there's certain things that I think are triggers. I know I was reading something once about, sometimes, you might need a little bit more food, and, have 10 walnuts or something like that. That might be a boost in the afternoon. I was counting out my 10 walnuts in the afternoon. I'm thinking, okay, this is just, it's triggering for me. It's
For
too
sure.
restrictive. This is not what I should be doing. I'm trying to get away from this. If I want a few walnuts, fine, but I don't need to be counting out 10 of them, so
Yes.
so I think that's really the big thing. And then also just, I was always looking for the next best thing. And I think that there's just very tried and true ways to stay healthy, reducing sugar, choosing, a more Mediterranean style diet, increasing protein, working out, getting in that movement. These are just all standard things to do. And there's no magic bullet, I don't think, when it comes to health.
Yeah.
And what works for someone else may not work for me, but I'm just trying to really stick to the basics.
Same here. And I think it feels better. I know how my body feels, and you're seeing how your body feels. It's amazing. And also just, again, mentally, I felt like, I wonder if I had breathed into that thing during the intense mental calculations. I call it, all the it was always calculating food. Like, why did food have to be algebra? Right. It was like, oh my God. And now it's not. And like, I have a beautiful fullness scale that I use. It's like, okay, 1 is starving, 10 is like your worst Thanksgiving nightmare, and 5 is right in between. And at the end of a meal, my goal is to be a 5. It's like okay, you've had enough, fine. Great.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really feel like the Lumen has been a great tool for me just to learn more about my body, just with the working out and,
Mhm.
just what shifts me into that more releasing cortisol. Another thing that they always talk about there is sleep. So I had one friend who she's kind of stays up late and that type of thing. And she's been really, watching what she eats and working out. And she was saying, I don't think there's anything possibly more that I can do. And
Mm,
really that lack of sleep can be it for some women, especially women who are in midlife. That sleep is just so essential to just help with metabolism and just feeling good about yourself.
yeah, it's amazing, right? And I think a lot of times I tell people the same thing. We have a lot of discussions in the gym about doing the right things and working hard. And, lately I've said to people, I would like to see not just a food diary. If you want to give me a 3-day diet diary, great. Could you also show me a sleep diary?
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, when did you fall asleep? When did you wake up? I'm not telling you, you don't have to go out and buy a wearable if you don't want to. I prefer to wear one, but it's not necessary. But, just even keep track of it. Are you, and if you're awake for a long time in the night, make a note of that and see how that parallels how, like one woman said to me, she didn't feel like she could recover from her workouts. And we talked about sleep and the whole diary thing. And what came out was, sleep and also lack of protein in her case. And it was really, really interesting. It was eye-opening to see like, okay, those are little things that you can make changes. You don't have to subscribe to any big fad or anything.
Yes, and that was another thing for me is I just recently, just probably in the last 4 or 5 months, really just started looking at having more protein in my day, which I used always protein as an accoutrement. I was always more of a salad type girl, where just the tiny sprinkling of chicken on the top of the
Hmm.
salad and just more plant based. But really, I'm learning that, and just from following accounts like yours, that protein and working out with weights and things like that is just so important for strength and preventing osteoporosis and just looking and feeling our best in midlife. So I'm slowly but surely adding in the protein and the weight. So I'm happy about that.
Yay. I am so excited to hear that. Really super excited because I think, we've been kind of conditioned to restrict,
Mm-hmm.
and so it can be a little bit different and it can be confusing with all the things that are out there. But one thing that we know is we need our protein, we need our veggies, and you can still have a plant forward diet. And whether you choose plant protein or animal protein, it can be done either way, depending on what you like and how your body responds, right?
Right. Yeah. No, and I
Mm.
and I think it's just about being open to making those shifts in midlife, and what we did in the past may not be what's working for us now, and just being open to making those changes.
I am so glad you brought that up because that is a message that I've been saying over and over again. Yes, you may have done these very restrictive things in your 20s and 30s, and it probably worked for you, and that's great. It worked for me too. But now we have a different body and we can't go back to that one. And personally, I don't want to go back to that one. This is where we are. And I love the fact that we just listen to it. So thank you for bringing that up.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely something that I'm listening for myself, and for me, it's just always about disease prevention. So, what can I
Mhm.
do to prevent disease in the future? So, if this is going to help with building stronger bones, you know, God forbid, in case of a fall, that type of thing, it's
Yeah,
all about disease prevention for me at this point.
for sure. And that's actually been the shift actually for me as well, I would say over the last 7 years, 6 or 7 years, was getting away from aesthetics. Not that I don't want to look great. Who doesn't, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But the number one goal, and it is hard for me to explain to people because I have to give people what they want, but also give them what they need, right? And so health is the number one. If we don't have health, we're not going to have the aesthetics anyway. So health is the number one goal, and aesthetics will fall into place nicely after that. And there's so many ways we can go with that. I've talked about not molding your body into a shape that doesn't belong to you. Our body is our body, and our healthiest body is going to be a very unique shape, not a trendy one.
I'm glad that you brought that up. I've always been extremely, extremely curvy. And I'm working on embracing that now, because like you said,
Yeah.
I'm never going to be, and I'm short too. I'm petite. It's funny when I meet people, on that I've followed me on Instagram, and I meet them there, the first thing they say is, "Oh my gosh, you're so much shorter than I thought you were." And so I'm never going to be tall and lean. So I mean, I can work out and do what I can, but I'm always going to have that curvy build, and that's, so what I'm working on is just being the best version of that curvy build right now.
Yay, 100%, absolutely. And for the record, I'm 5'1", so I get it.
Oh, you are? Oh my gosh, I thought you were about 5'7" or 5'8".
I don't know why. You lose perspective, right? In
Yeah.
pictures, because isn't that funny? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's funny because I did lose a little bit of height. So I was 5'3.5". Now I'm 5'2.5". So I said to my sister, when do you start going with the lower height that, the height that you lost? And she said, never, just always stick with the higher height. But yeah, but it's so funny because I thought you were much taller too, Judy.
No. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this has been awesome. I really want to thank you for sharing your experience with us. For me, it was very helpful because I just felt like I've read about the 5-day fast, and I'm like, it just made me squeamish. I didn't have enough discipline, actually, to be very honest with you, to try it. Or maybe my body was like, you're out of your mind, don't do that. I don't know. Either way,
Right.
I didn't do it. But I just do my consistent 14 hours, 6 days a week. Maybe on the 7th day, it's like 12. And I'm like, that's good enough.
Oh, yeah. And actually, there's numerous health benefits. So I think that's great. And I just really thank you for having me on to share this message, because I share, about all these different things. And I don't want women to ever feel, a sense of that they're not good enough if they can't accomplish something. So it's just really just always about listening to your body.
I love that message. And I think it's so important and a great way to end, right? We don't need to feel unworthy because our body doesn't do something that we've read maybe it should do. So
Exactly.
our body is the boss. All we have to do is listen to it. It gives us all the clues.
It sure does. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you so much. Wow, our body is the boss, and we do have to learn to trust it, and also open our senses to it, because the clues are there. Listen, thank you so much for tuning in today. This has been the Air Hug Community Podcast with guest Lisa King, and I will be back with a new episode next week here on Tuesday. If you have any questions, you can find Lisa's contact information in the show notes, and you can also find my contact information in the show notes. And if you're on Instagram, you can follow both of us. Our handles will be in the show notes.